Hello, how are you? Lately, more and more people have been complaining about the difficulty of falling asleep and staying asleep through the night. Sometimes a person might even fall asleep quickly, but then wakes up at 2 or 3 in the morning, can't get back to sleep, and the next day feels that tiredness, that low energy. That's why more and more people are looking for some natural alternative. Many people become interested in melatonin, and today I'm going to tell you more about melatonin, how it can be beneficial, and how using it incorrectly can even harm you. You're going to love this video, so stay until the end because you won't want to miss it. Before we start, I want to ask you, how many hours are you able to sleep at night? Are you able to get consecutive hours of sleep? Do you wake up a lot in the middle of the night? Write a little for me down here in the comments so that by knowing your difficulties, I can help you more and more. And if you know someone who sleeps poorly and needs more natural tips to sleep well, share this video. Melatonin is actually produced naturally by our own bodies, and it is produced according to the amount of light that decreases throughout the day. The darker the environment gets, the more the optic nerve signals to our brain that night is falling, that it's time for us to get some sleep to enter this more relaxed state. As I mentioned, melatonin is not a sedative. In fact, it helps stimulate areas of our brain that will lower the regulation of body temperature. That, in turn, is what makes us enter a more relaxed state, which induces our sleep. And it's interesting because many organs, practically all the organs in our body, have a receptor for melatonin. So, as the amount of melatonin circulating in our body increases, our brain regulates this. Our whole body does. It kind of starts shutting down, understanding that it's entering this time to sleep, to become more relaxed. An interesting detail, as I mentioned, is that melatonin in fact increases or decreases production according to the amount of light in the environment. So that's why in the past, many people used to say, I used to sleep better back then. Because when we think about ancient times, much older times, right? It was more common for people to have candlelight or to have bonfires or to really have this more apparent darkness. Of course, if we think about the old days that we lived through, we see that back then there were no cell phones, for example, no little lights from the TV. There wasn't those lights that stay on in our bedroom, in our house, the whole environment. So, in fact, as time has gone by and things have evolved, it's common for people to report having more difficulty sleeping in addition to all the other stimuli. So, in fact, this blue light and excessive light in the evening can impair melatonin secretion. This is a very important point. But it's also important to know that melatonin depends on some nutrients that we consume in our daily lives. To optimize its production, we will always be able to produce more melatonin if we have more substrate available. So, focusing on good foods can help you if you've been having difficulty with this as well. Later, I will talk to you more specifically about melatonin supplementation, which more and more people are using and sometimes on their own in incorrect doses that can harm the body. But first, I want to tell you a bit about how to increase your own natural production of melatonin, which I think is the most interesting, right? That way, we can avoid unnecessary oversupplementation and even make everything more natural, which is obviously better for our health. So when we turn off the lights, melatonin doesn't just form out of nowhere. It's very important that we have the substrates for its formation in our bodies. So if the tryptophan turns into serotonin, and if serotonin turns into melatonin, it's important for us to focus during the day, especially in the afternoon and towards evening, on foods that are sources of tryptophan. So poultry are great sources, like turkey, which is one of the best sources of tryptophan, and chicken is also a good source. Eggs have a complete amino acid profile, which also helps in the formation of this amino acid. This can help in the formation of melatonin, right, in the medium and long term in this synthesis of these nutrients. Pumpkin seeds and sesame have a very high concentration of tryptophan per gram, and there's another nutrient I'll tell you about, which is a cofactor, extremely important in this reaction. And bananas and oats, which, besides tryptophan, have a carbohydrate that helps this amino acid enter the brain, which is an interesting point. Melatonin, tryptophan, and serotonin, they need to cross the blood-brain barrier in the brain to take effects in a more complete way. So carbohydrates help to carry it across. Of course, oats and bananas can have a medium to high glycemic index. So ideally, you should control the amount if you want to manage your blood sugar or if you have any other related issues. But remember that, yes, they are good sources of these nutrients, and it's worthwhile, as part of a balanced diet and in an organized way with the rest of your meals, to include them at this time of day as well. As I mentioned to you, there are some enzymes that are necessary, and the cofactors are usually vitamins and minerals. So it's no use having tryptophan there if you don't have what converts it into serotonin and then into melatonin. So ideally, we should also focus on foods that are sources of magnesium. As I mentioned to you, pumpkin seeds as well as almonds and leafy greens help relax the muscles. And magnesium is essential for the chemical conversion of serotonin. Vitamin B6 is also closely related to this process. So once again, bananas, avocados, and salmon are good sources. It is the main enzymatic cofactor in this pathway. Without B6, there is a significant drop in melatonin production, and many people are not aware of this. In addition, zinc, which is found in meats and beans, acts on the modulation of brain receptors that induce relaxation. So it's important for us to have a balanced diet at this time to ensure that these essential nutrients will be absorbed. It's also worth mentioning that high-quality carbohydrates are very important because, as I mentioned, carbohydrates help transport melatonin, serotonin, and tryptophan across the blood-brain barrier. Entering that area, which is most important for our brain, crossing this barrier, which is crucial. So, consuming good carbohydrates will help you, as I mentioned before, like bananas, oats, and even sweet potatoes, for example, can also be a good option. Always consume them together with fiber and protein to keep the glycemic index more stable, which is good for our health, especially when we're talking about nighttime. It's also worth emphasizing that we can see that what we need to achieve good hormone production and to sleep and relax well are these minerals, these vitamins, high biological value protein, good carbs. So people who, when nighttime comes, turn to ultra-processed foods, frozen meals, order takeout, pizza, hamburgers, eat a lot of fried food, ultra-processed foods, lots of sweets, this causes big insulin spikes. This can be counterproductive for your sleep, for melatonin secretion, and for other issues related to sleep. So focusing on a more natural, more diverse diet will help you in this regard. There's also another very important point because chronic stress can decrease the conversion of melatonin in our bodies. The more cortisol, the more stress we have, the worse the conversion of this crucial molecule, melatonin, becomes. That's why so many people say, I'm anxious, I'm stressed, and I can't sleep well. Because it's a physiological reaction, it's not just psychological. In fact, there can be a decrease in the production of this very important hormone. So ideally, you should try to control stress. I know that's hard for many people. It's easy to say, just control your stress. So if it's important to you, seek out a psychologist or a psychiatrist in your city. Try doing breathing exercises. All of this can help you in a very comprehensive way with your sleep, and it's something extremely simple, right? I even have a video here on the channel talking more about box breathing, about how you can control your breathing, how reducing the sympathetic response in your body helps lower cortisol, helps improve sleep induction, helps regulate your heart rate at night, it lowers your heart rate, allowing you to enter a deeper sleep mode. So all of this can help you. And physiologically, stress is also a thief. It hijacks some of those nutrients that would be used for melatonin production. Melatonin does induce sleep, yes, but it also has a very important role that people sometimes don't mention, which is the activation of the glymphatic system. This glymphatic system helps to clean our brain, our central nervous system. It's as if it does a thorough cleaning of our brain, which we need during the night. We know that during the night, the brain goes through important processes of memory and knowledge consolidation, helping what we learned and experienced become more firmly stored and solidified in our memory. And during the night, we have this moment when the glymphatic system does this cleaning, removing toxins and excesses. So melatonin also plays this very important role, and being able to maintain good production of it is crucial. It helps not only with falling asleep, but with overall brain health. Another important detail to know is that many studies have found that proper activation of the lymphatic system can reduce the buildup of beta amyloid plaques, which are linked to degenerative diseases like Alzheimer's, for example. So it's really very important for brain health, for neurological health, that we sleep well. It seems like I'll just be tired the next day, I'll be in a bad mood. No, it's important for the brain to sleep. The brain needs rest. So it's also important for us to know that there are things that harm melatonin production. As I mentioned, blue light, excessive light, which is becoming more and more common these days, will block its secretion even if you're tired. So that video of someone washing a rug that you end up watching at 2 in the morning, which adds nothing to your life, or someone scrubbing a pot. You know those videos that are really dopaminergic that make you keep watching them? There's no real reason to watch that, but you do. All of that will harm your melatonin production, even because of the light. The lack of natural light in the morning also harms melatonin production at night because our body is all about counter-regulation. If you don't get that light in the morning, if you don't wake up, open the window, let some air into the house, stick your face outside to breathe in that chilly morning air, or, do some exercise right away, not doing this harms your daytime cortisol secretion, which is extremely important for counter-regulating melatonin. And then at night, you won't have the proper melatonin production. As I told you, high cortisol, chronic stress competes with this serotonin pathway, reducing melatonin production. So it's important for us to try to control all of this. Considering that there are many things to manage, nowadays people think a lot about supplementation because it ends up being easier and almost seems like a miracle. We supplement with melatonin, expect to sleep better, and many people say, I wasted my money, I didn't get any results from melatonin. And why does this happen? What happens is that our body produces melatonin in very small amounts, in waves, right? Melatonin works at certain times in wave-like secretions throughout the day and especially during the night. So if you take the supplement in a much higher dose, even 5 milligrams, and there are people taking 10 milligrams, which is a very high, very exaggerated dose compared to what our body produces. Some people report having nightmares, morning grogginess, or even worse sleep quality. Besides that, it's no use just taking the melatonin supplement and then stay on your phone, watch a horror movie, look at scary things, keep thinking about problems, the news, war, a bunch of things happening. You lose that window of opportunity for melatonin secretion or for consuming melatonin, and often the effect is null. So, for you to get the best possible effect from melatonin supplementation, the ideal is to stay in a dark environment, a cooler environment, a bit chilly if you can, basically with no external stimuli, no light, no noise, no bad movies, no scary news, and then you can actually get a good result from the supplementation. It's worth mentioning that not everyone needs to supplement with melatonin. As I told you many times, when you manage to improve your sleep hygiene, your home hygiene in terms of what you have in your bedroom, the bedding you use, that helps you stay more cool, sweat less. All these factors influence our sleep. So when you achieve this, often you don't need the supplement. As a last resort, it can be very helpful for those who suffer from jet lag. That is, if you've taken a flight and changed time zones, your body gets really out of sync. Or for elderly people who sometimes really have difficulty with this conversion with melatonin. But it's always important for you to talk to your doctor or your nutritionist before taking it. As I mentioned, the dosage is very important to determine, and it's also important that you practice proper sleep hygiene, keep your sleeping environment clean, and maintain a proper diet. As you noticed, all of this will help the melatonin you take, or help with the conversion of melatonin so you can have a better night's sleep. Other people who also benefit from melatonin supplementation are those who work in shifts. Doctors, nurses, people who work in factories, people who sometimes have to sleep during the day and work at night. Since their schedule gets very messed up, sometimes it's recommended to take it 30 to 60 minutes before the person actually goes to sleep, right? Wanting to get into a sleep schedule. But in these cases where the person is going to take it for a longer period, and ideally it should be for a maximum of 2 to 4 weeks, always confirming with your local doctor, the person should take the lowest possible doses. So if the person is going to use it for a longer period, from 0.3 to 1 milligram is an ideal amount. And as I mentioned before, we see supplements being sold with 5 or 10 milligrams, which is not ideal. You don't want to flood your body with that much melatonin, especially on a continuous basis. It's also worth mentioning that melatonin is not going to be a remedy for sleeping. Like, I'm having trouble sleeping tonight, I had a stressful day, I'm anxious, I'm worried, so I'll take melatonin. That's not necessarily how it works. It acts more as a supportive treatment that helps reorganize and regulate your sleep schedule over time. So, what works best is the lowest dose that is effective for you. The lowest possible dose is always ideal, and you should basically take it at the same time every day, always at that same time of day. So, for example, 30 to 60 minutes before you go to sleep every day, and always try to go to bed at the same time each day. It's no use one day at 11, another day at 2 a.m., another day at 10. You have to try to have a sleep routine. That's also very important. And remember that many times you won't even need melatonin supplementation. Some people use it excessively, or use it together with antidepressants or anxiolytic medications with anticoagulants. They can have harmful side effects on the body. So we need to be cautious with hormones. Just because we can buy them at any store or online doesn't mean it's any less important to have control over their use nowadays. What I notice a lot is that people turn to melatonin thinking it will have a calming effect, that they'll take melatonin and get that sleepiness, that urge to sleep, that deep sleep, that it will slow down racing thoughts, relieve stress. But that's not really true. As you've seen here in the video, melatonin works much more by helping organize and regulate your sleep schedule. Basically, that's its main role. And then from there, it can trigger other mechanisms that help stimulate the onset of sleep. So it tends to work in a more complementary and regulatory way. If you're someone who has a lot of racing thoughts, lies down in bed and can't sleep, feels restless, your body is agitated, maybe it would be better to try a more calming tea like valerian, passion flower, chamomile. I have several videos here. Even valerian supplements themselves, which are natural, can be an alternative for you in this regard. I have an entire playlist here talking about sleep, teas, supplements, sleep tips, I'll leave it down below in the description. So tell me, do you have trouble sleeping? Have you ever taken melatonin? Did it make a difference or not? Have you taken valerian? Did it make a difference or not? Have you taken anything else? Did you drink a tea? What do you do to try to sleep better? I would love to see your comment. Leave a like on the video because that helps me a lot, and share it with someone you think didn't know about this and will benefit from it. Let's expand our chain of kindness. That's what I want here with the channel. See you next time. Bye.